There are thousands of forests around the world, but only a few of them carry the reputation of being wrong. Not haunted, not cursed, just wrong. Places where nature doesn't behave like nature, where the silence feels like a living thing, where even the bravest hikers walk fast, refuse to camp, and never return after sunset. This story is about one of those forests. Locals call it the Silent Forest because, unlike every other forest on the planet, there are no birds. Not a single one. You don't hear chirping. You don't hear wings flapping. You don't hear anything that belongs to a living creature. Just wind and something else hiding underneath it. This is the story of three friends who decided to explore it and what they discovered deep inside. My name is Ethan. 2 years ago, my friends Lucas, Maria, and I went on a weekend road trip. We were staying near a national park known for its hiking trails. The Airbnb host was friendly, but when we mentioned hiking, she immediately warned us. You can go anywhere, but don't go into the forest past the old ranger tower. That's the Silent Forest. We laughed about it later, assuming she was trying to scare tourists for fun. But around 4 p.m. the next day, after finishing a long hike, Lucas said he wanted to check it out. "You scared of silence?" he joked. We stood at the boundary where normal forest turned into something dead. No noise, no rustling, no animals. It felt like the air became heavier the moment we stepped close, like the wind was holding its breath. Maria said we should go back, but Lucas took it as a challenge. 20 minutes, he said. In and out, we'll be fine. 20 minutes, he said. In and out, we'll be fine. That's how every horror story starts. With someone saying, we'll be fine. The first few minutes were uneventful, but the deeper we went, the more unnatural it became. Our footsteps sounded too loud. Every stick we stepped on felt like it cracked through the entire forest. It was so quiet that even our breathing echoed. 5 minutes in, we saw something strange. Bird nests. Hundreds of them, abandoned, empty, as if the birds had just left, all at once. But here's the part that bothered me. Some nests were smashed. Others looked burned. A few were torn apart like something shredded them from the inside. That was the first sign we should have turned around. But Lucas saw a trail, an old, narrow path that seemed to lead deeper in. Someone built this, he said. There must be something cool in there. Maria grabbed his arm. What if the silence means predators, wolves, mountain lions? Lucas shook her off. If predators were here, they'd make noise. Something is just weird here. Let's find out what it is. Curiosity, that's all it takes. About 15 minutes into the forest, Maria froze. Did you hear that? Lucas scoffed. There's no sound here. But she insisted. It wasn't an animal. It was like a whistle. My skin crawled. Whistles don't exist in places without wind or animals. We stood still and listened. Nothing. Absolute, suffocating nothing. Then, a long, soft whistle echoed through the trees. But it wasn't coming from far away. It was coming from above us. We snapped our heads up. Nothing. Just branches. Dead. Dry, unmoving. Lucas forced a fake laugh. Probably just wind. But there was no wind. Maria looked terrified now. I want to go back. We agreed, except Lucas, who insisted someone else must be here. This is a hiking trail. People hike here all the time. No, they don't. They avoid it. We took a few more steps before Maria whispered, Guys, do you see that? Ahead of us, in the middle of the trail, something hung from a tree branch. A rope, a noose. Not old, moldy, abandoned rope, but fresh rope, recently tied. That was when the forest started feeling alive, as if it was watching us. We turned to leave, but as we walked back, the trail behind us wasn't the same trail. The path we came from was narrower, overgrown. Wrong? Lucas said we must have taken a wrong turn, but I knew what I felt. We didn't turn. The forest changed. Panic set in when the silence seemed to get heavier. So heavy I felt pressure in my ears. That was when we saw it. A small wooden cabin, old, rotting, hidden deep inside the forest. A single window, a door cracked open. No chimney, no smoke, no sound. Maria begged us not to go near it, but Lucas was already walking toward the door. He pushed it open gently. The cabin was empty, except for one chair placed directly in the center of the room, facing the door, as if someone had been sitting there waiting. And on the floor below the chair, feathers, hundreds of bird feathers, but no dead birds, just the feathers and something carved into the wooden floorboards. A sentence. They don't sing here. They listen. The moment I read it, I felt cold fingers brush the back of my neck. Not wind, not imagination. Fingers. Maria grabbed my arm. Something is outside, she whispered. We turned to the window. Something tall moved past it, too fast to see clearly, but tall enough to block out the light for a split second. Lucas whispered, "Did you guys see that?" We didn't answer, because we were already running. We sprinted through the forest, not caring about direction, just running. The silence around us broke, not with bird sounds, not with animals, but with clicks, sharp, rhythmic clicking sounds coming from above, from the trees. Then the whistling returned, short, mocking whistles, like something was imitating birds. Badly, the clicking grew louder, faster. Maria screamed. Something was moving above us, crawling from tree to tree at insane speed. We didn't look up. We didn't want to know what it was. All we could do was run. But the trail kept changing. The forest kept twisting. Trees we passed moments ago would appear in front of us again. We were trapped, surrounded by things we couldn't see, but could hear imitating life. Then the clicking stopped. Everything went silent again. Too silent. Maria stopped running and whispered, "Where's Lucas?" He wasn't behind us. We turned around and saw him standing completely still, facing a tree, head tilted up, as if he was staring at something in the branches. We called his name. He didn't answer. We walked closer until we heard it, a whisper, coming from the tree above him. Not a voice, not human. A whisper made of breath and static. "Listen." Lucas's head snapped upward. We finally saw it. A figure clinging upside down on the branch above him. Long limbs bending the wrong way. Skin pale enough to reflect light. Its head tilted like a bird trying to understand a human. And its mouth. It wasn't a mouth. It was a hole. A dark, gaping hole that vibrated with the same whistle we heard earlier. The creature leaned closer to Lucas, slowly. And then it opened the hole wider. The whistle became deafening. We screamed his name, and Lucas turned around. But he didn't look like himself anymore. His eyes were empty, his expression blank. His expression blank. He whispered, "Shh, they're listening." We grabbed him and ran. The creature shrieked, the whistle now sharp enough to pierce your skull. More creatures appeared in the trees, pale, thin, crawling like spiders, whistling like broken flutes. They didn't chase us. They followed us, watching, whistling, clicking. The forest finally opened up. The air felt normal again. Sound slowly returned. The moment we crossed the boundary, the whistling stopped. The forest behind us returned to silence. Lucas collapsed. He was breathing, but he didn't speak. Not for hours. When we finally got back to the Airbnb, We tried asking him what happened, but he kept repeating one sentence. They told me the birds left because something else learned how to sing. He refused to go outside. He refused to sleep. And 2 nights later, he disappeared. No forced entry, no struggle. Just his window open and a single bird feather on his pillow. I don't know what lives in that forest. I don't know what those pale creatures are. But I know one thing. Forests are never supposed to be silent. If you ever find yourself in a place where no birds sing, leave. Don't explore. Don't investigate. Don't be curious. Because some forests don't want you to hear what's inside. They only want you to listen. If you want more dark stories like this, make sure you subscribe to Dark Vision and turn on notifications. Because some stories should never be forgotten.